Hey, it's Jegant Drago here, and I want to put in my 2 cents on the warbonds of which one you should buy and upgrade first. But first, the one that you should be upgrading is actually the free warbond that you get at the start of the game. Right here, you get a full 10 pages of warbonds. When you first start, you'll be getting medals, and it will be difficult to try to level up multiple warbonds at the same time. You're already spending $40 into the game. You might be spending a little bit more if you want the package. I think it's $60. And for Xbox players who are fans of Halo, you're gonna be spending another $10. So the price can add up really fast. And I just first want to focus on the idea that do not feel pressure to buy and speed run through the war bonds. Okay, and there's always a way to farm super credits, which is the blue sword credits right here, and you can like buy stuff from war bonds, which would usually be 1,000 credits. And then as for medals are the currency that you get for finishing missions, and then you get a good amount when you finish a daily personal order every single day. And there is the weekly major order, which they give you a very nice 55 medals and a little bit more depending on the MO major order of the week. So medals are also quite good to find, but it will still take a little bit of time for you to level up even the first warbond. So I want to take you through the first warbond really quickly, and for to farm super credits, I'll just leave you with this video by Clay Stenix. He did a great tutorial on how to farm super credits. I'll give a short clip right here.
This off with the best way to farm super credits. Tier 1 difficulty is the most efficient way to farm in general because of how all the POIs spawn and allocate themselves around the map. There's almost no enemies to fight either.
And that's super great tutorial on how to farm super credits. I personally just go to level 2 a little bit to farm my super credits sometimes, and I'll let you watch the rest later. But here with the first warbond that you will be getting into the game, it's already going to be pretty decent for anyone starting off, and the reason why you want to just level it up is to even go to reach to page 3 right here, where is space optimization. You get more ammo when you drop at the start of the mission, or when you respawn you also get full grenades and full stims. Without this booster, you only start with half, so it's 2 out of 4 stims, 2 out of 4 grenades. With this, you'll be spawning in with 4 out of 4, 4 out of 4. The next one will be vitality enhancement, so you will reduce not just minor damage, but it will be a significant amount of damage that you'll be reducing, and you'll be much tankier in the battlefield. Not only that, page 4, the med kit armor is also very effective. You get +2 stims, since you might be taking more damage than normal starting out, so it's good to have more stims, and with those your stims also last longer, an extra 2 seconds, so that's also pretty great. The weapons are not bad as well. They're not, I'll give them like a C tier. Things get a little bit better at page 5, but even then you might have to level this gun up, so I can't say with full confidence that the weapons are the best. Page 6, Liberator Penetrator, really good, and also even better when you level it up as well. Now this sniper also starting to get really good as well. Slugger, not so good. Breaker, kind of okay, but we'll get to more. The best weapon, Scorcher. As far as a free warbond weapon go, this is S tier, so it's very valid to just focus on this warbond to get to the very end. This Scorcher will take you right into the late game 100%, and you'll be able to take down even gunships that usually would like require heavier firepower. So don't feel pressured or FOMO to try to buy into the other war bonds, especially when you just bought the game. Who knows if you or anyone might really love the game to really play that far, and it would be really bad for anyone to just buy a war bond and not fall in love with the game and then having to quit early on. So it will be legitimate to just work on the free war bond. Okay, with that said, let's get into the actual personal recommendation that I have to get first. And a lot of rankings would put the democratic detonation. This one would be maybe your first war bond to get that is paid ASAP. So we have thermite, it's anti-armor, it's gonna stick to the biggest enemies in the game and kill them in most of the time, 99%. Very effective. It might bounce off, but that's just part of the game. The Adjudicator, medium penetration, also a very good AR, one of the better ARs in the game, especially when you level it up. It might have a difficult recoil at first, but as you level it up, you'll get attachments to reduce the recoil. Eruptor, S tier in the game. It has an explosive, so you can close bug holes and destroy fabricators, etc. So it's very good, S tier. Grenade pistol as a sidearm secondary weapon, also S tier. You can also close bug holes, so you don't have to use your normal grenades to close bug holes, and you can have a grenade pistol instead, and then have a normal AR as your primary weapon. I use this weapon most of my games. And then we have the crossbow, also very strong, explosive primary weapon. Not as big of an AoE compared to the Eruptor, but just as good. So all of these weapons are about explosives, and throughout the game you'll have to be closing bug holes or destroying bunkers, and all of these weapons does that. This armor as well, sort of fortified, reduce recoil when you're prone or crouch, and then 50% resistant to explosive, very strong. Now for the bug side of things, since they spit acids, bugs that spit acid are actually explosive damage, so this armor will protect you against all of the bugs that spit acids. Okay, so this armor is also very good. Everything in this warbond is pretty much very good, so this should be your first armor to pick up. Now the second armor that you should pick up will be Freedom's Flame. This one will have the armor of fire resistance, 75% fire resistance. There will be a couple of enemies that will have fire damage on the bot side, so when you go out to fight the bots, you might want to take this armor with you. Fire is also very powerful damage, dot damage in the game, so all of these weapons will be very efficient to kill any enemies that you want. We have the Cookout, one of the most effective shotguns in the game. It has a stagger, and when you shoot, it will make the enemies catch on fire, do a lot of dot damage, really good. Torture, also very good. Instead of getting the support weapon Flamethrower, you can have a primary that is the Torture, and it's just as good and maybe a little bit better because you'll get a free stratagem slot to use on something else. Again, with the Crisper, with the fire damage, even as a secondary weapon, this is also very effective. That the fire dot damage is pretty consistent. The only difference is how much ammo you have in the tank, basically. So this is a very good and solid secondary warbond to pick up, and it will be an important armor passive to get for a future warbond to pick up later on. Now in this tier would be the mostly good tier, so it's not a must-have per se that you must get ASAP, but it's mostly good, so it'll be on like the third category, in which case we'll have this double-edged sickle. It's an energy weapon that has unlimited ammo as far as you can hold down the button. The downside is that it will catch you on fire once it overheats, and that is the point. It makes you catch on fire, and that's where the Freedom's Flame come in. You need the flame armor to protect you from this weapon, which this weapon is also a very high tier weapon to have. That's why you need the flame armor first. And then after that, we have the ultimatum, a very powerful secondary weapon that can destroy some of the biggest enemies in the game, but it only has basically 2 rounds, but it's very powerful and very much worth having. Now the portable hell bomb is a very unique support weapon that requires a different kind of playstyle, different kind of mindset, but it's still very strong once it's used and done correctly. Now you don't need to go out and die like in the clip. You can drop the backpack and then run away and save yourself. Another pro tip ish about this weapon is that for certain missions that require you to destroy certain structures and you might need to call in a hell bomb, instead of calling down a hell bomb, you can of course bring the stratagem instead, and then you go and take it out yourself. So this is in my sort of mostly good weapons, because the grenade might not be as good and the armor here is also definitely not as good. So as we go down the line, these are like going to be less of a priority and it's going to be more of your own taste in weaponry. So here we have the Control Group Warbond, one of the latest Warbonds to come into the game. We have a very unique primary weapon that can be mixed between an AR, a shotgun, or a massive burst weapon. Very unique. We have the Epoch, also a more portable anti-armor weapon, but have a high risk because you could die, just like the clip has shown. And the armor, I'm still testing the armor, but it's not the best so far, so this is more down the line. The turret with the laser sentry is also pretty decent, but the main focus that I want to recommend this Warbond as the 4th tier here is the War Pack. It's a very unique backpack for you to be able to blink in front of you as the clip shown, and it's so unique that I say it's very much worth to pick up as your 4th Warbond because there's nothing else like it. It has a lot of skill expression to be able to dodge enemies. You can go through walls, small walls with it, and it's very much worth it, but you gotta really understand what you're getting into with this weapon and know if this is the type of Warbond that you want. The next Warbond that I want to talk about is Steeled Veterans. This is also a very nice Warbond to have, though the amount of personal recommendations that I have will start to go down a little bit. So first we have a Senator. This is a very unique weapon that it's a secondary weapon that has heavy armor penetration. One of the only weapons of its kind besides the explosive types. So if you want to roleplay as a cowboy while dealing a lot of damage, this is the weapon for you. This one I'm not gonna recommend too much, so we're gonna move on, because this Breaker Incendiary is also very good to sort of spray around and make the enemies catch on fire. Again, this is a fire weapon. This is also a fire grenade, so it's going to be very useful against a lot of enemies to make them catch on fire and burn them down. And another very strong weapons for this Warbond is the Dominator. As a primary, it has medium armor penetration, is very quite accurate as well, so it's a very powerful weapons against higher value armor targets, so very useful, but not too high in my category, since the armor is the only useful part is that it lets you throw things a little bit farther. So the amount of weapons that are good are Dominator, Breaker, maybe this grenade, and the Senator. So the amount of items that are useful is getting lower. Now Cutting Edge is a very unique Warbond as well that has a little bit more useful weapons. We have the Sickle, that is similar energy based weapon, but this one, it doesn't overheat that makes you catch on fire, but it can overheat where you need to reload the gun. So if you could manage the heating and let it cool down, you can fire basically forever, but it will remain as a light armor penetrating weapon. Next is the Punisher Plasma. The plasma shots will sort of arc and it does a lot of damage, and it's also a very solid primary weapon. And then the Blitzer is a arc lightning based gun and is an unlimited ammo weapon, so you can keep on shooting it forever. It's great against bugs, so this is also a very useful weapon. And then lastly is the Dagger, also very useful one-handed weapon. Since it's a laser gun, it will make the enemy catch on fire, which fire damage will do a lot of damage to it as well. So you don't need to shoot at the enemies forever, you just need to shoot at them long enough for them to catch on fire, and then you can keep on running away and let the gun itself sort of cool down so you can keep on shooting forever. Now the issue with this armor is that I'm not a fan of the armor by itself, since it's only arc resistant, so it's only going to protect you against lightning and against the illuminate. If you're really afraid of some of their enemies that do some lightning damage, you could consider picking it up, but I don't recommend it too much. I think it's just something you get to learn and just play around them. So this armor isn't the best, so that's why it's a little bit lower down the category, but all of the weapons are very solid and worth picking up. So the next category would be warbonds, where I find that there's only one useful item or two maximum useful items in the warbond. So here is the chemical agents. Now poison gas is a very powerful mechanic in the game. It stuns the enemy, makes them confused, and it's a dot damage that is separate from fire damage, so you can stack fire and poison gas together. In this case, I personally would take the fire resistant armor if I want to combine these two damages and forget about the poison damage personally, because sadly the sterilizer is still not too useful as a weapon. But the weapon that is really useful about this warbond is the guard dog. The guard dog makes this whole warbond worthwhile, but it's still lower down in the tier list as far for me as a priority, even though this is a great warbond. So basically you just have a flying dog, as you can see, and it will spread poison gas on your behalf to stun the enemies and confuse the enemies. That's very strong, but everything else in this warbond, in my opinion, is just not that good. Gas grenade, also very good, almost forgot about that. Okay, gas grenade and guard dog breath, but the stim pistol, not so great. Sterilizer, not yet so great. Poison armor, kind of okay, but not too many enemies use poison anyway, so it's only to protect yourself, so not as good as the fire armor. So you really need to think really hard if you want to pick up this warbond or not. Poison gas is very strong, but you still have the orbital gas to use, so you don't have to buy this one, or at least farm up the super credits and get it for free. So I'm a little bit conflicted on this one. Next one is Urban Legends. Now the armor for this one is actually really good. Siege Ready is a very unique armor passive where it makes your reload speed of your primary weapons faster. So mostly if you use an AR weapon, you will benefit with it quite a lot. And also with AR weapons where the ammo might be limited with the magazines, increasing the magazine will help quite a lot as well. It also includes any support weapon. So this is a very good armor. And then the second item that's really good in the recommendation is the anti-tank emplacement. So it's like a turret, but you have to sit on it to shoot, and it is an excellent anti-tank weapon, and you can shoot it from afar. You can destroy bunkers, bot bunkers, and a lot of weapons. But as far as the warbond go, I only find two of these weapons useful, the armor and the emplacement, and then everything else is still very much questionable. So, and the melee weapon, not so great. The shield, not so great. It's just okay. So as a full package, you have to think really hard if you really want these two weapons. Viper Commander is also another very unique warbond. The armor is also very good with peak physique that improves weapon handling and then increase melee damage by 100%. But it's hard to recommend this one truly, since not a lot of people are gonna go a melee build, and if you want weapon handling, you can always go the engineering armor, which lets you have better control in recoil when you're crouch or prone anyways. So this weapon is slightly redundant, and the engineering armor might be a little bit better than this. And the other weapon that's really good is the Liberator Carbine. It's one of the better AR weapons in the game, having a very high attack speed, and when you start to level it up, it starts to become very good. Sadly, the rest of the warbond isn't the best. The Bushwhacker is pretty decent, not the worst ever, but then things start to get a little bit more downgrade with the throwing knife that literally no one really uses, and the booster is pretty decent, but it's not something that I will ask anyone to go out and buy this Warbond for. So only 2 decent good weapons. Polar Patriots is the next Warbond to talk about, and the Tenderizer is a very decent AR. I know my friend personally really loved this weapon, and it has a very nice recoil control, but personally I like the other ARs that I spoke about a little bit more, but this is still a very solid weapon. The SMG Pummeler, it has a stun effect, I think, so some people really love this weapon as well, but I believe the stun effect has been nerfed, so it's not as good as before. But the best weapon within this Warbond is the Purifier right now. So it's a plasma weapon and it has a shard job. With the shard job you do much more damage as well. It has medium armor penetration, is really great against the flying bot gunships as well. So this is a very decent weapon, but it's starting to get very limited of what I personally would recommend in a Warbond. Up next in... What? That's crazy. Literally during the recording of my video I couldn't connect to the server anymore. So I guess we have to just go back to the wiki. I'm so sorry. My personal bottom of the barrel, but the funny thing is that I still use a lot of these items, but once again this is a Warbond tier list for new players who will have to pick which one to get first. So this Warbond, the Master of Ceremony, is mostly a melee based Warbond and will be very thematic. A lot of these last Warbonds will be mostly roleplay based. Personally, I like the armor. The armor has a nice balance between melee damage and reload speed. Though the weapons themselves is still a saber sword, and then we have the true flag, so it's a lot of melee. It's not gonna be the best for someone who wants to pick it up as a first Warbond. The grenade is decent, but there's still other very useful grenades, and it wouldn't really change the fighting style or play style for you. The next one would be Force of Law. Again, a little bit funny that this is in my bottom tier list, but I still use the armor for this Warbond quite a bit because it has a nice balance of 25% damage resistance only to the chest, but it's still quite strong, and then 25 resist to explosive damage, which is not 50% explosive resist compared to other armors. But I like this armor, I personally use it, but everything else I cannot say with confidence that I can recommend, and it might be a little bit on the weaker side. Truth Enforcer is even another Warbond that I use even less. I'm not quite a fan of some of the weapons. They're not too bad. Some people might say it's not too bad, and I can agree, but it's still not the best. And the armor themselves is going to be very niche, where the speciality is that it helps Helldivers from flinching. So when you use laser weapons especially, your aim doesn't sort of get pushed to be able to still stay on target. But the pistol, plasma pistol, is okay. The SMG, though usually SMGs are one-handed, this is two-handed, which makes it a little bit not so good. It's still okay. The shotgun takes a little bit of a special playstyle, so it's not the best. So it's difficult to recommend this Warbond. And then the very last Warbond is the Borderline Justice. This is also very much a roleplay style Warbond. Again, the weapons are decent for what it is, but again, there's so many other better Warbonds to choose from. A fan favorite that I think people like is the Hover Pack. It boosts you up into the air and keeps you there for a decent amount of time. But as far as Warbond go, it's hard to recommend this Warbond to a new player, and there will be other better Warbonds to pick up. So once again, my personal conclusion for this video is to not feel the pressure to buy more Warbonds after paying a full $40 for the game, and just to level up the free Warbond that the game gives you. The plasma gun at the page 10 will be really worth it to get, and will last you pretty much until the end game after so many hours, so reaching level 10. And if you really enjoyed the game and you really want to buy the next Warbond, then feel free to pick up the democratic detonation. All of the explosive weapons will be useful to you basically forever. I personally use the grenade pistol all the time to close buckholes and etc. The armor is also very useful. Freedom's Flame also very useful. Anything that's fire is very strong in this game, and to have fire resistance armor is also very strong as well when there are a couple enemies that have fire damage, and it will protect you very nicely. And then we have the mostly good armors of Servants of Freedom, Cutting Edge, and then Control Group. I put it there mainly because the war backpack to be able to blink is extra strong and very unique as a playstyle in the game, so I put it there as a very good warbond to pick up. And then Steel Veterans, and these are very good warbonds to pick up afterwards. And then after that is like warbonds that personally have like 1 or 2 weapons that are good and worthwhile to get, while everything else I personally don't use. So Chemical Agent, I'll just say that it has a very strong poison combo to have the guard dog to poison the enemies and stun them, or you have the poison gas grenade to be able to just throw on the ground and then poison the area to stop the enemies from running after you. It's still very strong, but many of the other items in the warbond is really not that good, so the total package is a little bit hard for me to recommend. And this is sort of my personal tier list. There's many other tier lists, so feel free to watch and get as much info as you need to be able to make a knowledgeable decision, and hope you have fun in Helldivers. With that said, until we meet again.